Okay, coaches, we talked a little bit about finding the access point and understanding ball motion and trying to line a player up. So Lindsay's coming in today. We're going to have a good practice session. And so Lindsay's brought in kind of her 5 core bowling balls. And I talked about earlier, we need to find the access point on those 5 bowling balls. And then we're going to have a couple of different patterns that we're going to try to get her lined up on with her 5, core bowling balls. Kind of like every player has their arsenal from the weakest ball to the strongest ball. So Lindsay's brought in her favorites today. And I ask any coaches, you're going to have a student or a player that has certain balls that they really like and certain things that they get great success with. So today, we're going to find those, map those out, have Lindsay throw a few shots and on a couple different patterns, and we'll see what we find out. We've got 2 patterns out on the lanes today. We got a longer pattern and we got a short pattern. Almost gave you away what that pattern length was. But the idea is, me as a coach and you as a player, we want you to go out there kind of blind and try to figure out, what do you see on the lane? I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint that it's a longer pattern, and then the pattern on the left lane is going to be a little shorter. So now you trying to find your benchmark bowling ball to start first with. So let's throw a shot here with your benchmark ball in where you think you should be playing on the lane, and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Okay, so first shot, high flush. And it's a benchmark bowling ball for you, solid reactive. We'll talk a little bit about those in a minute, each one of those layouts. But so where was your target in the lane?
About 12.
Okay. So your target, you're standing pretty straight with your feet, not much angle. And we noticed that the ball was very direct on line, and it worked out really well, a high flush strike. So that would be maybe a good start to find out, okay, maybe this is pretty good on the long. So now I want you to take what you would think in a benchmark bowling ball, throw that a couple of shots, and then I want you to switch to a different ball and try to find a different line, but still have pretty close to the same exit point.
Okay.
So just keep throwing a few. Okay. So we've taken a couple of shots here, and this is the benchmark bowling ball. Kind of a medium reactive bowling ball, solid reactive, that benchmark that you're going to use on a lot of different patterns. Now notice the first couple of shots, very good, and you were really accurate on those first couple of shots. But we noticed the third shot, we got it in a little bit, it went high. And then the next shot, it got a little right, and it never wanted to hook back. So we know that we don't have a lot of room for error with a ball like this. It's a shiny surface, it's a long pattern. So we would want to make a switch to either a sanded ball or a ball with a little more aggressive core cover stock. So let's make an adjustment, go to what you would feel comfortable with in a more aggressive bowling ball.
Okay.
Okay. A little more aggressive ball gives us a little bit more area there, because the idea is we're trying to give us a ball that's going to maximize a little bit of room for us, because we are humans. We're not hitting exactly that one dot every single time. We have a little bit of variance on a couple of boards. Even the best players in the world miss by about 2 boards. So still right in the pocket there. Let's throw one more, and then maybe we might make another ball change to see something a little bit different. But we're using now, we've switched to a very aggressive, asymmetrical ball with some sanded surface on it. So it is one of her strongest balls in her bag. So knowing it's a longer pattern, she's made an adjustment here. So let's continue to watch a few more variances here. So all 3 shots have found the pocket. One was maybe a little right, one was maybe a hair in, so it gives you a little bit more room, right? So we see that this would probably be the ball we'd want to start with. a very aggressive asymmetrical ball and pretty much a sanded cover. But I did notice that we left a couple of half tens. It would be probably a good ball to start with because we know in the beginning on a long pattern there's so much volume. And so we want to make sure we keep that pocket, don't give the pocket away. And we know that scores aren't always big to start in a long pattern usually, and we know that the shot's going to break down a little bit. So what would you be looking for when they start to break down? What would you want to do?
I just wanted to make sure that I wouldn't move too far left. And then at that point I would look for a ball to go a little bit longer and then kick more on the back end so that I could keep my lines parallel and not have too wide open, because on a longer pattern it's not going to recover. And then if you try to square up too much with a more aggressive ball, it's going to hook left immediately. So I want to give myself the most room for error.
Absolutely phenomenal. And that's what we see a lot of times is players feel like they can stay in the same ball and they keep trying to move farther and farther left. And all of a sudden their feet are 16, 18 boards to the left of where their target is for a right-hander. And all of a sudden when the ball flat tens a couple of times, you're like, what's wrong? Well, a lot of times the ball's gone away from him. So it'd be like a golfer standing out on the putting green and he's trying to hit a putt with a driver when he should be using his putter, or he's standing at 100 yards. You can't hit a driver into a green at 100. It's understanding using the right balls at the right time. So let's make another ball change, kind of just to see what happens. We're going to go a little bit different pin placement, a little bit different cover stock, and to see what we get.
Okay.
Okay. So we've thrown a couple shots here. We noticed the first one was a little light, ball went a little long, and then you tried to make a slight adjustment with it, and it kind of overhooked down the lane. So we know that this is the ball that's designed to go a little farther down the lane and kick a little bit more in the back end, but we notice that the pattern has still got a little too much volume in it. So we would see probably second, third game, you try to make the adjustment, but we see the shape of that is pretty close. So the biggest thing we're always trying to do is to try to get a player to understand what's going on with that bowling ball as it's traveling down the lane, and understand that, hey, I need to make sure I'm using the right ball at the right time. We talked about that. Biggest thing is we want to make sure we can't coach the bad fit. Now we can't coach the bad ball reaction. If she's trying to use the ball that's too weak, she feels like she's bowling in a really tight, we used to call it bowling in a phone booth. Instead of, we want to have a little bit of freer swing, because physically we want to make sure she's feeling comfortable making those shots. So now that's, you as a coach, you're trying to dial that player in. So we know on a long pattern, a little more aggressive bowling ball, give us a little bit of room for error. And as the pattern starts to change, Lindsay's going to look for some very key things. And what she said was really good. And you as coaches and players need to understand that you're going to start looking for those same things as well. We're trying to look at, hey, when the lane changes, I can't keep staying in the same spot. I got to kind of move my feet, and I got to kind of move my target, right?